Alright, what's up guys? This is DarkM on the mic. We're back with more Yggdra Union. In the last video, we did Battlefield 1, and it kind of just showed us the bare bones of the game with the battle system and moving around. And we also did a bunch of advanced stuff like getting the MVP bonus and getting all the items. And if you'll notice, I redid the level so that I got the attack +2. This is very, very important to get Millenor to a very important power spike really early in the game. And I'll explain that in detail in just a little bit. But yeah, for now we're going to go ahead and look at the spoils of war. View spoils. It'll show all the items that you picked up. It doesn't account for items that you picked up manually, like the hairband. So we did still get the hairband. You just won't see it on this list, but you'll see it in your item inventory later. But that's the iron choker that the Valkyrie boss dropped, so we'll happily take that. And we also pick up the Revolution card that the Valkyrie was using. Again, abilities aren't available yet, so we didn't get to see what this does, but you'll probably end up being very irritated with this card if you've played through, especially on hard. This card becomes a problem later on. So we have some dialogue here where Millenor and Yggdra finally start to talk to each other, and basically Yggdra pleads her case, saying, please help me get the kingdom back. The Imperial army is on the warpath. And Millenor says, you know, sure, for a reward, I'll do it. You know, give me your castle. And she basically says, sure, anything. She's kind of desperate right now. Desperate times call for desperate measures. And we're going to get a couple cards as well from her. She has 2 cards to give us. One is actually really important, and the other one is kind of also mildly important on a couple levels. So right here we have the option to save our game, but I'm not too worried about saving the game right now, so we're just gonna go to the next map. Okay. So basically we're just trying to get through this area, and then we run into a bunch of enemies. Again, I don't want to spoil too much. I want you to read all the dialogue and hear the character voices on your own. So the goal right here is to defeat Inzaghi. He's the boss at this level. He is a sword user, and that's going to actually matter quite a bit. But before we get into that, I want to talk about stats. So you can view character stats on the select screen. As you can see, there are 5 categories in the stats box. There's Gen, Attack, Tech, Luck, and Rep. And Gen is basically used to determine how much damage you take when you lose fights. It determines how much morale you lose. The more Gen you have, the better you are at losing fights. You don't take as much damage. It also has a lot to do with other things, such as whether abilities work on you or not. And there's also a couple other finer points that I'll link some guides later on that explain in more detail, but that's the gist of Gen. Attack, pretty straightforward. You want to have more attack than your opponent so that you'll win more fights. And the reason that we wanted to get Millenor +2 in attack is to get it to those 3 big stars. The big stars basically count as 1 each. So right now Millenor has 3 in attack. He has 3 in attack. And he has 2 in Gen, 3 in Tech, 3 in Luck. The little stars you'll see right there, the little stars in the Gen column, and he has 1 in the Attack column. Those tell you how much closer you are to reaching the next big star. The little stars do not count towards your overall stats. It just rounds it to the closest to whatever big star you have. So even though he has 4 little stars, it still counts as just 2 Gen only, so keep that in mind. Rep, you basically get rep every time you win a fight, and you'll cap at a certain number of exclamation points. I think the cap is like 6 or something like that. And when you lose a fight, you go all the way back down to 0. And having rep is important for getting certain items, and also for completing certain side quests and stuff like that. So that will come into play a little bit later. So that's the basic gist of stats right there, and believe me, stats in this game are power. If you have stats, then you're in there. And this is Yggdra, the new character we got. Say hello to Yggdra. Yggdra's stats basically suck. They're horrible. I mean, look at her. You saw that Millinor had like 2-3-3-3. 2-3-3-3, and she has 3-2-1-1. That is some abysmal stats. Even for a level 1, that's pretty awful. But don't worry, with patience and with proper leveling up and getting the MVP bonuses on her, she will become a powerful character later on. So I don't want to spoil too much yet until we get there. So just have faith in her. She will get there eventually. She's a late game character, you could say. But whereas Millinor is all game. Like I can't even front. Millinor is just too good. But okay, so you also see that she has an equipped item, the Silk Corset. Millinor had the Silver Moon. Items in this game, they will add to your stats, or they can take away from stats depending on what they do. And a lot of times they also come with extra effects. Millinor's Silver Moon gives him the no battle penalty ability, and Yggdra's Silk Corset gives her the block counter, which is also good for her, basically allowing her to negate counter charges. And then here you can see is the item inventory. You can see the hairband and the iron choker. So we do have both. And you cannot equip an item onto somebody that already has an item. That's not possible. So you have to wait until they use up the item, and then you can equip them with something new. And that's also plays into a part of the strategy of this game. You really have to be thinking ahead and thinking, okay, for this map, I need this item because I could do a certain thing on that map. And again, that's just trial and error. You're going to have to play this game a lot, or just pay attention to this guide, because hopefully I'll get most of it pretty okay with a little bit of luck. And then over here on this side, we can consume items. You can like eat the hairband, I guess, to recover morale. As you can see, the morale is on the right side, 2,800. She has 2,800 out of her total 3,320. But consuming the hairband would be a big waste, so we're not going to do that. But that is an option if you want to. Okay, so enough talk about stats. Let's get into the level. Again, we have the cards. One of the new cards, Banish. Pretty okay card. We'll definitely be using that once or twice. But this card is very important. Sanctuary, I love this card. Really, really strong card. You're going to be using it a lot if you want to get stuff done, if you know what I mean. So, but that will come into play later when abilities become a bigger part of the game. So let's just start the level. Okay, so let's take a look at the map first. We have our first village of the game. We'll be visiting that. Most villages are only available at noon or in the evening, and as you can see right now, it's noon. This map is not a fixed time map, so time will move regularly. Basically, we'll take one turn of noon, and then the enemy will have another turn of noon to themselves, and then it will go to evening, and then they'll have evening, and then it'll go to night. And then it'll just rotate all the way back to noon again. There are certain villages in the game that can only be accessed at night as well, so keep that in mind. But for now, we want Yggdra to gain some experience because she is really weak right now. So we're going to select Banish. Much like in the first level, the enemies in this level will not attack unless you're right next to them. They will not go after you. So we're going to have Yggdra attack this axe user. Again, sword over axes. Good matchup for her. Should be a pretty free win. And you'll get to see the Silk Corset in action right here, as counter charges will be guarded, completely nullified. You'll notice that there's a bar on the top now, and I'm going aggressive by holding right. And it basically just allows me to do more damage and end the fight quicker. It doesn't really matter too much. He's probably going to die regardless of what happens. And if I hold left, I'll be going passive, and then that'll help me build meter. And that'll come into play later on when you want to use item abilities and stuff. You can only use the abilities if you have a full bar. So it becomes a trade-off, you know, between getting to your abilities or just doing more damage as quickly as possible. Okay, so Yggdra gets some experience, and that mercenary is gone. We don't want to move Millinor next to over here. We want him to get to the village, so let's just move him as far as we can. Millenor cannot occupy a square that Yggdra's already in, so we'll just end our turn. Inzagi's forces again will not move since nothing is next to them, so they won't attack. We're going to use the 10 movement of Revolution to get Millenor all the way over to the village. And because it's still evening, the village is open. And it's going to allow Millenor to get a nice item for free. And this item is kind of a two-part phase. We get the fur, and it's going to turn into something different, which will become very crucial on the upcoming levels. Okay, so now we're going to move Yggdra over here next to this fencer, and we're going to attack into that. Again, with the Silk Corset, she should survive pretty handily, since she'll start with an 8-man advantage to 5. And you'll notice that when I go aggressive with Yggdra, the sword starts glowing. She's applying an element to her attack. In this case, the holy element. And you'll see right there that the fencer's applying a lightning element to his attack when he's in that second level of rage bar. Elements in this game play a very important role in whether or not you can win certain fights or whether you'll lose certain fights outright. And that will become a lot more relevant later on in the game. There are some enemies that are weak to certain elements, and then there are other enemies that are immune to certain elements. Like, for example, if you look at Inzagi, you'll see that he's void to lightning. So if I had somebody with a lightning element in their attacks, it would do nothing to him, and he would just run them over for free. The holy element, though, well, elements in general on your attacks only happen when you go aggressive. So there are just some fights where if they're immune to your element, you just can't go aggressive on them. You can still go passive, but you can't go aggressive because you'll just do no damage to them. And of course, on the other hand, if they're going, with their element into you, they'll do no damage to you, so you'll win for free. Pretty handy. So we're going to move Millenor as much as we can to get maximum use out of that card. We're going to end our turn, and Inzagi will do nothing, as usual. And now we're on turn 5. Okay, so here's where we're going to get into one of the little nuances of this game. This game can get pretty random at times, even if you prepare properly and do all the right things. You can still get screwed over pretty hard. So there's this option that I'm going to be using a lot, and it's called the suspend option. You'll also notice that there are save states on that screen that I just showed right there. And if you're going to want to do things thoroughly and get everything that you want and optimize everything, you're probably going to have to use the suspend option a lot. You're going to have to use save states, especially if you're new to the game. You're going to be making a lot of mistakes. You're probably going to second guess yourself a lot. So the save states would just really help you plan things out and stay organized. Because it's very easy to lose track of things and the level will just get out of control, especially in the later levels where there are more enemies and they get stronger. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna move Yggdra over here and have her swing into this mercenary to get rid of him. Another reason why we're using Yggdra so much is not only to give her experience, but because we want her to get the MVP bonus. Only one character can get the MVP bonus per battlefield, and we want Yggdra to have it. And the way you get the MVP bonus on a certain character is to have them do as much morale damage as possible. If they do the most, they'll get the bonus pretty much, which is why we're having her swing into all these enemies. That way, if she's already taken out 2 enemies. If she can kill this guy, even if Millenor takes out Inzagi to end this part of the level, he still won't get the bonus. But we need her to finish off this third person in order for that to work out. So again, this game can get a little random at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and use the suspend option. And basically, it's just going to say, okay. And then it'll take me back to the title screen. So I'll be right back. I'm going to go ahead and restart, and then we'll pick up from there. And hopefully the RNG will be kind to us. Okay, we're back. So we have suspended successfully, and we're going to use I'm going to use Sanctuary here again. Sanctuary is one of the cards you're going to be using a lot, and you're going to want it to have a lot of power behind it towards the mid-game. So we're going to have Yggdra attack. This is a pretty brainless fight, nothing really to worry about. Again, the Silk Corset will protect her from any counter charge. Just have her go aggressive. No big deal. I'm going to speed this up. Once you become intimate with the ins and outs of this game, you're going to be using the speed up option a lot just to burn through the fights because you'll get tired of them really quick. It's not a problem though. Okay, so there he goes. Okay, so now here's where we're going to have to pray a little bit. We're going to move Millinor next to Inzaghi because due to the MVP bonus, we're going to need to have him swing into us first and lose. So we're just going to have to pray here. Inzaghi will swing because he sees an axe user and he is a sword user. So let's see how this goes. Oh, that was beautiful. That was a beautiful RNG. 6-5. That is definitely GG for him because I'm on a wasteland, which gives me extra advantage, field power bonus, if you will. And you'll notice he has 2 big stars in attack, and I have 3 because of the MVP bonus that we got last battlefield, and that's also going to further solidify the victory here. So everything's just kind of coming into play. Things will just start adding up and making things a lot easier for us. So that was a great RNG. I couldn't have asked for a better RNG right there. In my original recording of this, which I had to scrap, he actually took me down to like 2 or 3 people on his charge. That was pretty ugly. But the game can get really bad, and we'll probably be seeing 1 or 2 pretty soon. Okay, so now it's our turn, and we're gonna finish off Inzaghi. And a lot of you might be thinking, oh, you know, we can just use Yggdra because, you know, she has the Silk Corset and she can just finish him off and get more experience. That would be a good idea if we didn't need the item that Inzaghi has, which is the leather hat. I'm not going to go into details to what it does, but bottom line, we want it. So in order to get bosses to drop items at this point in the game, the big stars in luck have to be equal or greater than what the boss's luck is. So right now Inzaghi is at 2 big stars, and pitiful Yggdra, poor Yggdra, is still at 1 star, so she wouldn't be able to make the item drop. But Millinor can because he's at 3. So that's why we have to use Millinor to finish Inzaghi off. So we're going to use Steel here. And we're just going to swing into Inzaghi. And this should be pretty free. I'm just going to speed this up. I'll just go aggressive just because. No real difference here. He's going to lose either way. And the Steel will finish him off. And you'll see that Steel got a nice power boost right there. Plus 91 for finishing off the boss. And Inzaghi's like, curse you, Captain Planet! And he's out. But, just as he leaves, reinforcements arrive. These knights are serious business. Again, they're lance users, so they would just destroy Yggdra if they got to her. And, yeah. We're not going to be messing with them. You could technically stick Millinor over there and, you know, have him gain experience, but it's just not worth it. You're better off just heading for the flag and ending the level. So the knights will take their turn, blah blah blah. They're not going to get to me. If you have Yggdra lagging all the way back here because you chose to not use her for whatever reason, then she'll probably get wrecked. So another good thing to have both characters keep moving to this side of the map. And the MVP bonus here, we want to get Yggdra 2 into attack. And it's not going to give her the next big star, but it's basically going to allow her to hit 3 big stars that much faster. Do not worry about Yggdra's tech or her gen. Those are her best stats overall. Towards the end of the game, she'll max those out naturally. Her luck is by far her worst stat. It's one of the worst stats I think that any character will have in the game if you leave it, unchecked and it just grows naturally. But for now, we're not going to worry too much about her luck. We'll give her luck stats later, but attack is what we want for this level. So I'm going to go ahead and suspend, just in case I don't get the MVP that I want, the MVP stat. And I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. And you'll see right here the leather hat did drop. You could have somebody walk over and pick it up, but it doesn't really matter. So long as you end the level, the item will count towards your inventory. However, if an enemy unit walks over a dropped item, they'll claim it for themselves and you'll lose the item. So there are certain instances where you'll want to just pick up the item as soon as possible, just so that you don't lose it. But for now, we'll just move both characters to the end. Steal more than enough movement. And that's the end of Battlefield 2. Jaws of the Wolf. And you'll see we'll see a new character come down, Milinor's lady friend, who seems to be a Griffin rider. She'll blow up the path right there so that the knights can't follow us. And that's going to be the end of that. Okay, so as you can see, Yggdra got the MVP bonus, and hey, we got really lucky. She got +2 in attack. That's excellent. I'm actually 2 for 2. I had to scrap an earlier recording because it didn't turn out good sound-wise, but I still got the attack anyway. So hey, not bad. Okay, so as you can see right there, we needed to do this in 9 turns. Everything that we did on that level was key to making sure that we finished in 9 turns. And we also got to get as much experience and points for our cards as possible. So, taking a look at the spoils, the leather hats there. Don't forget we picked up the fur from the village. And we picked up Inzagi's signature card, which is Banshee's Cry. This card is definitely above average. I would recommend that. I definitely wouldn't overly recommend it, but it is a solid card. If you want to level it up, then it's fine. Its ability is pretty good too. So, yeah, pretty okay card in my book. There are far worse. So, talking, they're gonna go find the rest of the army. But that's the end of that level. Again, I'll let you guys play the game out for yourselves, read all the conversations. Definitely worth reading it through the first time. And we're just going to save, and then the next map will be map 3. And map 3 is where things really start to get interesting. That's where the game really begins, because you'll start to use unions, and we're going to run into the next couple of weapons. We're going to run into the spear users and the very dangerous mages with the rod users. So I'm really looking forward to playing through that level. It's definitely one of the hardest levels at this point in the game, so I'll be sure to do my best to walk you guys through it. But until then, look forward to the next video. This is DarkM, and have a good one.